Thank you very much, Esther Githu-Ewart. And this is, of course, Straight Talk Africa, coming to you live from Washington. Let me come back to you, Haramine. Earlier, of course, you talked about the great Amazon ladies who hailed from present-day Benin. What kind of women were those, really? What made them especially tick?
Well, they were special in a way that they were very, very strong women, very powerful women.
In what sense?
Fearless women.
Generous.
All aspects possible. When you see Amazon come, you have to buy down or you have to get out of the way, because they have shown so much courage and bravery that the king has appointed them to become first, they were first the bodyguard of the king, and then later they were the first women warriors.
Bodyguard of the king?
Yeah.
Maybe that is in fact where the late brother leader, Colonel Muammar Gaddafi, borrowed the leaf from, because later in his days, guess who were his bodyguards?
Women.
Yes.
But in not the same way, because there are other things going on. But these women were just there committed for the kingdom of Dahomey. They were committed to fight the colonizer by all means possible, to the point where, you know, they have a different regiment of Amazon women, and different grades, just like we will have soldiers today, you know, with different grades of soldiers.
Right.
That's what we had before. Some of them, in order to be able to fight, will just, I wouldn't say it, but, you know, it's just to say that these women have shown a lot of strength and a lot of courage over the years. It is unfortunate that this group of women does not exist anymore. But my hope is that every woman, which we do, because whenever we see a woman rising and fighting for the country, for the rights, for human rights and so forth, we call that women an Amazon. Because that's what they have been in the past. And my call is for every single woman to be an Amazon.
They also had another characteristic. They practiced what was known as polyandry, the opposite of polygamy. True?
Well, the Benin Amazon were not practicing polyandry, because we live in a society where it's a completely patriarchal society. The shift came when one of the king died, and his twin sister became a queen. And that's when they created the Amazon group. And that was back in the 18th century, 18th centuries. But then later on, the group becomes really strong. And actually, in order to be a good Amazon, you were not supposed to be married.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
Yeah, you were not supposed to be married. So
just like priests, like Catholic priests.
Yeah, I mean, because in order for them to go in the front and then fight for a whole kingdom, an entire kingdom, you know, they need to focus.
And that's to be distracted.
So they need to sacrifice.
They need to sacrifice, exactly, and be focused and do the work, to have a well-done job.
Very interesting.
Just wanted to add something very quickly. The Amazon spirit you just said, you just mentioned, I think there's a common thread. That's what I was thinking while she was talking. There's a common thread throughout humanity in terms of you have the Amazons of Benin, of the Kingdom of Dahomey, and then, but over years, by the way, in Burundi, we also had a very famous mother, you know, queen mother called Dirire Mutima, you know, who actually led the kingdom.
And where did she come from? Was she a Muganwa? Was she a
Burundian.
A Tutsi? Or what was she?
She was part of a clan from which women were married to the Baganwa. We had different clans, so she didn't have to be necessarily a Muganwa. But nevertheless, she was very prominent in a very important chapter in our history. And we also have Inamujandi, who was a woman rebel who actually waged a war against the king and the colonizers. But anyway, later on in life, let's remember, I grew up being very much influenced by what I read about women like Adelaide Tambo, Albertina Sisulu. So you have Miriam Makeba, Wangari Maathai in Kenya. So you have writers like Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. You have poets. I mean, now I remember Katie Nivyawandi was a very important voice in the struggle in Burundi these days. And then, so you have a whole variety of voices, female voices, who've been really around us all these years. And going back to what you were saying, empowerment, I think empowerment, what is it? It's really to recognize what we've always had, what we've always seen, sometimes ignoring it, but it's always been there. I'm a member, as you said, of a women and girls movement. I think of the president, Marie-Louise Warichako. She's a fantastic leader. We trace the movement as a group, as a think tank, as a group. We trace our roots back to, for instance, the March of Women for Peace in Burundi in 2014. We had 3,000 women in the streets of Bujumbura. In 1996, we had the women who went to see President Museveni asking for the embargo to be lifted up. So we have a very rich history, which sometimes goes ignored,
and
left on the side.
Because people usually, why do you think, the reason why I think that it goes is ignored is because people trace it so far back. People tend to forget history, especially when it suits them, when it goes in their favor. Because today you will see men who will say, you need to behave like our grandmothers, or you need to be submissive women. You need to be this and that. But that was not the case before.
That was not the case.
And they're talking about
politics,
equality and all those today because it suits them. It works for their agenda. But in the past, that was not the case. Yes, because history is it's really difficult for people to trace history back, and that's something we need to do. Actually,
absolutely,
we need to do.
It's good, of course.
I totally agree with your point.
It's good to celebrate and to talk about the great things that women in the past have accomplished. But what about today's woman? She's held back, obviously, by certain factors.
Yes.
Some of them are what? Culture?
You would say that culture is the first barrier. I think man-made conflicts is another one. Attitudes, social attitudes, which don't have anything to do necessarily with culture sometimes. But at the same time, I would say that I want
to add. You say, the behavior is one aspect of it. The social perception that people have on women is one thing, and then of course we have all the cultural values, as you just mentioned, the norms that they're expecting women to have. The customs they expect women to the behavior they expect from women, the expectation in general, the attitudes,
mindset,
exactly. The mindset.
So
is the
maybe,
attitude.
in fact, what is needed is fundamental changes in both men's and women's attitudes and mindsets, really.
Oh yes, because we see that a lot of the issue today is not just men issue. It's not, if women are lagging behind, it's not because of men, but it's also because of women, and that's an issue we need to address.